Hey guys, this is God of Politics, and welcome back to a brand new video. But before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But in today's video, I will be doing my first governor elections prediction. Now, the current makeup of the governors after this election will be 27 Republicans and 23 Democrats. But most of the governor elections occur in this midterm, the 2022 midterms. And if you bounce back or flashback to the 2018 midterms, Democrats flipped a number of governor elections. As you can see here, I believe they flipped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seats, and the Republicans flipped one in Alaska that was held by an independent prior to that election. But Democrats did have a good year in 2018. They flipped governorships in some red states, for example, a state like Kansas, as well as Wisconsin and Michigan, which were states that Trump had won in 2016 while winning easily in other states that Trump had won. But in 2022, it could be a completely different story because you could have a Republican wave year that is happening, and that could change many results, not just at the gubernatorial level with these races, but also at the state legislature level. And while the redistricting process would have already been done prior to these elections, that is also very important and dependent on the governors and state legislatures. So I will be doing the map here for those state legislatures, seeing who I think is going to win. You have a lot of term-limited candidates, so meaning you're going to have a lot of open seats. You're going to have a lot of competitive races, and the governor elections are going to be very interesting in 2022. So, as always, I do want to start off with the safe Republican states. So, if we do that, we can start off with the safe Republican states of Idaho, Wyoming, South Dakota. The South Dakota gubernatorial race in 2018 was actually quite close, but Kristi Noem has become more popular, and I do think that she'd be able to win by a safe margin. Same thing in Alaska, as well as Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, as well as probably that's going. Actually, I will put Vermont at safe Republican, not New Hampshire. I'll talk about that later, but I will be putting Vermont at safe Republican because I do expect Phil Scott to probably run again for the governor race. I doubt he runs for Senate. If he did, he wouldn't win. But if he runs for the governor race, I think he'll win by a safe margin. I also believe Massachusetts is a safe Republican state. You have Charlie Baker here. He is not term limited. He can run for another term. I am basing a lot of these predictions off of assumptions based on who's going to run, who's not going to run, etc. I do think that Charlie Baker will probably run again. I don't see why he wouldn't run. And if he did run, I do think he would win by a safe margin. He's quite popular in the state of Massachusetts. And then the safe seats for the Democratic Party, I do believe, is the state of California, the state of Oregon, and the state of Hawaii. I also believe that the state of Illinois is a safe margin, New York, as well as, actually, I've put Virginia and New Jersey here. They are actually up in 2021, but, just for the sake of this, I'm putting it in this entire prediction up to 2022. I do believe both of these seats would be safe Democrat. Maybe Virginia could be a little bit under 10, but I can't really see it given who the Republicans are running at this point. And Connecticut and Rhode Island, I also believe, would both be safe Democrat. Maine would probably be safe Democrat, to be honest. The current Democratic governor did win quite easily in 2018. If we look at the results, if we go to Janet Mills, she won by 7 points in 2018 with the independent candidate. So I do think she'd be able to win, even though it'd be a Republican wave year. Maine is a pretty independent state, so I do think that she would be able to win quite easily. Oh, and finally, Maryland, I do believe, would be a safe Democratic state. Larry Hogan is term limited, so he won't be running for governor again, meaning that in all likelihood the seat will be safe. Oh, and finally, actually, I forgot this for the Republican Party. Nebraska is also a safe Republican seat. You do have a term limited incumbent, but it's going to be safe Republican regardless. And then for the likely Republican seats, I am actually putting Texas at likely Republican. Texas is a changing state. We clearly saw that in this election. And even though Greg Abbott is more popular and he won by quite an easy margin in 2018, Texas is still a changing state. And while I do expect him to win quite easily, I'm not really sure who the Republicans are going to run, who the Democrats are going to run, to be honest. But I do think it'll be a little bit closer just for this election. Even if it's a Republican wave year, Texas is still a changing changing state. I also do believe that Ohio will be a likely Republican state. You do have Mike DeWine here, who actually could get a primary challenge, to be honest. I mean, I'm not really sure who's going to run against him for the Democrats. Maybe you could get Tim Ryan to run against him. His seat is most likely going to be redistricted out of possibility for him to win, so he might as well run for governor or for the Senate. We'll see what he does. But I do believe that Mike DeWine, if he wins his primary, even if he doesn't, the seat will most likely be likely Republican. It could even be safe Republican, to be honest. Iowa's another seat that I do expect to be likely Republican, likely to safe. These are two seats. I'll talk about Colorado and New Mexico, but they're similar in many ways because these are seats that are pretty much on the cusp of being safe, but I think they'll just be a tad bit more competitive than some of these other safe Republican states. You know, Kim Reynolds is not the most popular figure, but Iowa's a changing state, and while she only won by 3 points in 2018, that was a blue wave. You're now assuming that there's going to be a Republican wave, and I do expect her to be able to win quite easily. And then I do believe that is all of the likely Republican states. I do believe these states for the Democratic Party that will be likely will be Colorado and New Mexico. You know, you both have popular Democratic incumbents here in states that are increasingly becoming more Democrat. I would easily put these at safe, but, you know, I do have some doubts about it. I think just maybe because it's the waiver, it could be a little bit under 10 points. Maybe the Republicans get a good candidate, etc. But, you know, this could easily go by safe margin as well. It's not really going to be competitive. So those are all the likely states for either party. After that, the Republicans have 15, Democrats have won 13 of the seats. There are still 10 that remain outstanding. Getting into the lean margin states, I first do believe Arizona is a lean margin state. While you do have Doug Ducey, who is term limited for the governor's race, I do expect Arizona in this red wave year to stay Republican. If we do look at possible candidates, I'm not even sure if it lists anybody. Yeah, it doesn't actually. If we do go down to Republican, it does say, you know, Democratic Secretary of State Katie Hobbs has said she can seriously consider a campaign and has given a decision timetable of early 21. She could be a good candidate. It says other potential Democratic candidates include Arizona House Minority Leader Charlene Fernandez and U.S. Representative Greg Stanton. You could also have, you know, the Arizona Attorney General, U.S. Representative David Schweikart, State Treasurer Kimberly Yee. So, you know, those are pretty good candidates for the Republicans, and I do expect them to be able to win, but it will be much closer than it will be for Doug Ducey's last race, which, you know, ended up being by double digits. He won, you know, very easily, very convincingly, winning by 13 points in Maricopa County. That's Mitt Romney levels in Maricopa County. But the next state that I really believe in Republican is the state of Florida. You know, Ron DeSantis isn't that popular right now because of the COVID and stuff like that, but I do expect him to recover, and I do expect him to be a more popular governor by that time. And I think, you know, not many Democratic candidates that could run for governor. I suppose that you could get some of the Democrats in the Congress that are being redistricted out of their seats to run for governor, but I don't think they're going to be able to beat Ron DeSantis, and I do think that he will win by a lean margin. I also believe Brian Kemp will win by a lean margin. You know, Brian Kemp's being in a little bit of hot water right now due to some of the things that have been going on with the Secretary of State, not only on the left, but on the right as well. He's been getting criticism on the right. And so, you know, maybe that leads to a primary challenge. I'm not sure. I expect him to win a primary, and I expect him to win a general election too, but it will be closer than what it has been in Georgia's past, and I do believe that it will be a close and competitive race, but I expect him to win probably by a similar margin to what he won by against Stacey Abrams in 2018. The lean margin states for the Democrats, I am first putting New Hampshire to lean margin state. And before you say, oh, they've got Chris Sununu, yes, I know. Chris Sununu, in the 2-year governor terms in New Hampshire, could easily run for re-election, and he could easily win by over 10 points. He could win by 30 points, to be honest. But the thing is, I am basing this off of the assumption that he is running for Senate, which I do think that it is likely he will do. So we will see what happens there. But I do expect, if he does run for Senate, that the open seat will probably go to the Democrats, because New Hampshire, you know, is still a Democratic state, and Chris Sununu is, you know, a uniquely good candidate for the state of New Hampshire. I also believe that Pennsylvania would actually be a lean Democrat state. You have to, you know, remember the circumstances for the state of Pennsylvania. Democrats do have the opportunities to get good candidates. They could run someone like John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor, someone like Connor Lamb, the congressman from Pennsylvania's 17th congressional district. And so what that shows you is that, you know, Democrats have won in past Republican wave year. If you look at Tom Wolf back in 2014, he beat a Republican incumbent in a red wave year by 7 percentage points in the state of Pennsylvania. He won by 20 percentage points in 2018. I think it's clearly easy to say that the Democrats do have a good opportunity opportunity to win this seat in 2022. And sure, Democrats could lose this, but, you know, given their suburban strength, I do think that even if turnout is lower amongst Democrats, they might be able to do better in the suburbs to be able to win this race. And it's shown that they can do that before. But it is all very dependent on the candidate. And looking at it right now, I do believe the Democrats do have an edge in the candidate quality. And I do believe that they would give them a victory in the state of Pennsylvania. I also believe they'd get a victory in the state of Michigan. You know, Gretchen Whitmer, as much as she's been criticized from the right and, you know, plots to kidnap her, all of this crazy stuff going on, she is still a popular governor, and she is, you know, still in a state that Joe Biden was able to win. She was, you know, won back in 2018 by 10 percentage points almost. So I don't think she's going to have too much trouble winning. It'll be definitely closer, but I do expect her to be able to still win. I also believe that Minnesota with Tim Walz, he will also win. You know, Minnesota's the state that, you know, even in 2010, the governor's race went Democrat here, and it hasn't gone Republican at the presidential level since 1972. So Tim Walz is a pretty good candidate, and I do expect him to win again, but it will definitely be closer than his last election. When you can see here, he did very well, winning by a safe margin, and that's because he did well in the suburbs, but also did well in a lot of these rural areas due to lower rural turnout. We only have a couple of seats here left. I do believe that the gubernatorial race is tilted Democrat. You know, you have Steve Sisolak here, who won quite easily back in 2018 in that open seat, which was formerly held by Brian Sandoval, a Republican incumbent that had won, you know, by 70%. He got 70% of the vote in the 2014 elections. But if we do look at the state of Nevada here, it says, you know, it doesn't say anybody about the people that could run against him. Maybe if he gets a good candidate to run against him, you know, sure, maybe he gets the congressman from the congressional district, the first congressional district, I believe, up in the north. I believe that's the number there. But I don't believe it's going to be enough. I believe Steve Sisolak could win, but Republicans do have opportunities in Nevada. They have 2 in the congressional districts, and they also have the governor and the Senate race. But you know, I could make a whole video about that, but I won't further this. And I also believe that Kansas and Wisconsin are both tilt Republican. First, with the state of Kansas, you know, people might say, oh, why is it not state Republican? Well, actually, the state of Kansas does have a Democratic governor in Laura Kelly. Laura Kelly is the Democratic governor. I actually believe she's not in as much danger as Tony Evers is, because, you know, Kansas has actually had, you know, Democratic governors very recently. The state Supreme Court is actually majority Democrat because they've been appointed by Democratic governors. And while you do have the state legislature, which is actually a super majority for the Republicans, you know, maybe that even gives a better chance to Laura Kelly. And I don't think she's going to go down without a fight. I do expect her to narrowly lose, but I do think that she definitely does have a chance, and it will be a close race. And then the final race here is the Wisconsin governor race with Tony Evers. You know, maybe he runs against someone like, I can't even think, to be honest, about who he would run against. But there are a couple Republican candidates that could run. Maybe some of the congressmen run. Maybe someone in the state legislature runs. But Democrats, the future for them in Wisconsin looks pretty bleak. I mean, if you go back to 2018, he only beat Scott Walker by 1.1 percentage points, and that was by doing a lot better in the driftless area where Joe Biden didn't do very well in. So, you know, assuming he loses those areas and loses some of the suburban gains that he got in 2020 with Joe Biden, he's going to have a lot of trouble winning, and it is going to be a Republican wave here, I'm assuming. So I do think that Tony Evers will lose, and I do think he is in danger of losing his seat much more than any of these other Rust Belt governors here. So overall, out of the 38 races that are up for re-election in 2021 and 2022, I do believe that the Republican Party will win 20 of them. The Democrats will win 18 of them. The Republicans will get a net gain of 1. They flip Wisconsin and Kansas. Democrats flip New Hampshire. So overall, this would be a strong showing for the Republican Party, and I do expect them to have a strong showing in 2022. But, you know, there are a couple winnable seats that they haven't won in this prediction, and we will see how that shapes up come 2022, which is very far away from now. But I do want to do my first preliminary prediction for it. So anyway, guys, thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.